guys for coming. Completely unfamiliar with the setup here, but we got the fancy video thing. Just ignore all that. We're trying to record everything for you guys, so you don't have to. Yeah, if you want to take notes, I think that's great. But if not, then at least you have something. Just hit me up afterwards. I'll send it to you guys so you can watch it as much as you can. But again, my name is Ken Siu. And I think most of you probably don't know too much about me because I'm not in the. I'm actually a licensed agent in PA, but I actually haven't sold a single home as a real estate agent. So all I've done in the last, since 2010 has been on real estate investments. And actually, let me just quickly get a pulse of what's going on here, because some familiar faces, but a lot of unfamiliar ones. Like, can I get a raise of hands? Like, who's actually investing in real estate, like, actively? Okay. And who is interested in learning more right now? Okay, who's just kind of forced to be here today? Okay, all right, none. Okay, all right. I saw some guys didn't want to raise their hands, but I know who you are. But okay, so my goal today, I have my notes here, so let me make sure I don't miss anything. I got a bunch of stuff for you guys, but what I want to do is to really maybe spend about half an hour, talk about different topics, kind of touch on high level what real estate investing is all about, and then we can have a Q&A sessions. I think Corey came up with that idea because I feel like that's more tailored to your situation. Everyone's at a different spot in your career. You have different income, expenses. I have 2 young kids, 3 and 5. Some of you have grown up kids. Some of you have no kids. So it's all very different. So I think the Q&A would be more beneficial for every one of you. And feel free to hit me up afterwards if you need to deep dive into any single topic. But again, half an hour, I don't have too much time to cover every single thing. But my goal here, I was thinking about what should my goal be, is to make you guys as much money as possible, either through increasing your income as a real estate agent or as an investor, right? To increase your net worth. Because, the rates have gone down a little bit, as you guys may notice, so that's a good thing. But to me, the easy money is over, right? Back then, 3% interest rate, everyone, their mother, their father, their uncle, their friend, maybe their kid, I don't know, everyone's going into real estate. So, and are trying to buy a house, right? Those days are over, right? But then the past year or so, I feel like for most people it's been a little bit challenging, maybe. I can see it because we track everybody's, every single listing and every agent's listing, we track it on a monthly basis, so I know what's going on in the market, right? I can see a drop. Someone was doing, 20 million in volume a year, and then now it's 10. Again, 10 is still good, but then it's not 20, right? Of course you make 2.5%, so that's less, but I see that, and I think, now is the time to say who were the real players that are doing the real work, staying disciplined, doing what they're supposed to do, like Corey, right? Because he sold maybe a couple houses last year, like what he was saying. So, and I've worked with Corey a lot especially on the, he brought a lot of buyers and stuff like that. And who got lucky, right? Who just was coasting, everyone asked you to buy a house and then you just try to sell the house. So I think now is the time to kind of explore different options of, just my opinion, a different stream of income for you guys as a real estate agent, and also kind of thinking about long term. Okay, you can make a great living as a real estate agent. I believe so. I truly believe it. But you will only be wealthy by creating appreciating cash flowing assets. And I think real estate asset is up you guys' alley, right? You guys deal with that all the time, and you guys know a ton about real estate. So, you can go into creating or buying businesses and all that stuff, but you already know what you're doing. So that's why I feel like this might be something that could benefit you guys. So let me just start with again, if you guys want me to deep dive into certain things, let me know. If you want me to just skip over certain things, let me know. But I have 5 myths of real estate investing that stop most, I find, agents from getting into it. So Because if you don't have the right mindset, in my opinion, based on my own experience as well, it's not gonna work. Because you're gonna hear from me today, you're gonna watch some YouTube videos, sign up for some courses, but you're not gonna take action because you have like 1 or 2 or 3 things that stop you from taking that action. Sometimes it's just that one thing, right? It's just like one small step you don't know how to do, certain things, and you didn't bother to find out what to do, and then you stop doing, what's gonna get you, like my topic of how to become a millionaire real estate investor agent. It's not that difficult, but myth number 1, I need tons of money. Who has that kind of obstacle here? Let's be honest, guys, right? So to me, I don't have time to go into too much details. To me, you won't have that problem if you work with an investor, or what I like to do, a private lender. So a private lender is someone who has the money, right? It could be, Corey could be one of them. He probably has a ton of money in his bank account that he's trying to put to use. Well, don't hit him up, but there's a lot of investors or people, high net worth, doctors, lawyers, people right? You guys, real estate agents know the most amount of people. I'm sure you know some wealthy people. They don't know what to do with that money, right? They want to get into real estate. They need guidance, right? And that's where, to me, that's not a problem, right? The money's out there. You just need to find the deals, okay? And then know what you're looking at. And then myth number 2 is too risky. That's why it's good in you guys' position. If you're already investing, great, you already know what you're doing. But if you're not, I think it's good for you to work with someone experienced, could be myself or anyone else that's experienced, to learn the process first, right? Maybe ask them, help them buy the property, but then ask them so what are you looking at, right? How much does things cost, right? Okay, what are the concerns, what are the problems you run into with property management, things like that. So, and then partnering with some of them to buy properties could be a viable option as well. Then you don't have too much risk because you have somebody else who knows what they're doing. So that's myth number 2. Myth number 3, I need a contracting background. I feel like I had that when I first started. And believe it or not, this year, right now we do about 5 to 10 deals a month, different kind of exit strategies, but we probably flip a couple dozen deals on the flipping side, fixing and flipping. And truth be told, people think I know anything about contracting. I actually never picked up a hammer. I'm probably the word from my wife, functionally useless when it comes to repairing and anything in the house. So I will always get somebody else to do it because I know I'm gonna mess it up. So if someone like me who has 0 skills, and I feel like most of you guys probably could do better than me, that's definitely not an excuse for you not to get into it. The only thing is, it kind of ties into myth number 4, which is there's no good deals left. Everything in the market on the MLS is all bidded up. Everyone just jump into it. You're not gonna find good deals. What I focus on is to generate or create and maintain a machine that's like a marketing and sales machine to find deals, okay? That's what I focus my attention to because that's my skill set. Again, if you're really handy and all that, you have crews going on, that's fine too. You can save costs on those stuff. But for me, the biggest thing is if you're not actively looking for them, they're not gonna come, right? These are not MLS listings, retail stuff that you can just click a button, right? I know I look at it every day, right? Hot sheet and stuff like that. You can't just click a button and then magically suddenly there's deals out there, right? Even if you try to do that, you have to make a bunch of offers to get a decent deal on the MLS. So it's all about sales and marketing, just like you guys, right? You guys already do it. That's why, you guys already know what I'm talking about. And finally, myth number 5, I'm too busy, right? Some of you are, so hopefully most of you are busy. I'm gonna get around to it at some point. You don't have to do it. But the thing is, you don't have to do anything outside, in my opinion at least in the beginning, you don't have to do anything outside of the norms of what you're currently doing. You just maybe need to shift the focus, the targeting, and your approach to it. I'll get to it in a bit about what that means, because I don't want you guys to have to take what's working right now to generate your income and like create something totally different. Because that's like creating a different business. It just doesn't work, right? It's like running two businesses. I tried that, you know, I'm an entrepreneur just like all of you. Squirrel, shiny object syndrome. Oh, the guy say PPC is great, or like Zillow is awesome, and oh, this new CRM gonna solve all my problems. I'll be honest, they all help, but at the end of the day, I focus on what works for you. Because it works for you for a reason, because it's something that worked for you because of your situation, right? Because of your time commitment, because of your experience, your skill set, people you've hired. There's many reasons, many factors why something worked for you, and we want to focus on that. I'll go into a little bit of that, but first I just want to make sure that I address all that, because it's all in the head. If you don't get rid of it, you're not going to do anything. What's the whole point of you learning something new and not doing anything? To me, that means you didn't learn. You just, and I do that too. I'm not pointing fingers. It's like you get that adrenaline or like that intellectual stimulation. Oh, great, I know how to do this thing. I'm gonna be a millionaire, multi-millionaire, and then you're like, yeah, but what am I gonna do next? So that's why I want to focus on that. I have this quote here. If you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got, by Henry Ford, right? And that's something that I learned the hard way, you know? So, like, you can't expect the machine you built last year in 2023, now it's 2024, to produce twice the amount of income for you in 2024 unless you make drastic changes. Okay, let's be real, right? Unless you get really lucky, right? But we're not talking about those situations. So make sure you do that. I don't know if it makes sense to just a quick background about myself, right? So, because some of you may know me, some of you don't know me, I'll do a quick introduction. So again, Ken Siu, I'm originally, you can tell from my accent, I'm originally came from Malaysia. Took me 30 hours to fly here when I was 20 years old. This is 2006. Oh my God, it's crazy. I've been here 17, 18 years. God, I'm old too, so I guess. I'm Asian, so you know we don't age usually. So, according to what people tell me, so I'm 38 actually. So just FYI out there. But I came here to attend college. So I was telling Cody, I did actuarial science and finance, and in school, so I was a math geek kind of thing. You know, I love math, right? And I got a job in Times Square in New York City. After like 100 interviews, I thought I was gonna get booted out of the country because I had to go home if I couldn't get a job. But on like the 100 or somewhere close to it, I finally landed a job. I was like, yes, I don't care about salary, just sign me up. So I got a job as an actuarial consultant with Fortune 500 company, one of the big four accounting firms. And you know, things were great, but I was like, man, I don't know if some of you guys can relate if you had a full-time job. Like, this is not just what I want to do for the rest of my life. You know, it's like, it's just something that pays the bills. You know, I may have to tough it out for a little bit, but then I know there's something more, right? So I was searching, and I stumbled upon this course called Rock Bottom Blueprint by Dean Graziosi. He doesn't do real estate course back anymore, but back then, there was only like one or two guys. Right now, you have YouTubers, like you got like 50 different people doing it. And I know a lot of those people personally, because I'm in the mastermind with the top 400 investors in the country. A lot of those guys, by the way, don't actually do deals. They only make money from education. So just kind of keep that in mind. But I did my first deal by calling realtors. So I started from working with realtors, right? Making offers on REOs back then to 2010 and short sales. And I got my first deal in 60 days, right? This is after work, weekends, lunch. And I had to borrow money. And this is where that myth of need a ton of money comes from. I basically was calling everybody I knew, right? Everyone on my phone contact, I just call. And surprisingly, the guy that lent me the money is a guy that I barely knew, a friend of a friend. And he was like, oh, sounds like a good idea. What's your wire information? And I was like, oh, this guy is kind of, I mean, I'm not complaining, but he's not doing his due diligence for sure, because I had no clue what I was doing. So I double closed. Yeah, be honest, right? That was my first deal. So I double closed on it, made like 10 grand out of it or something like that. I can't remember. And I was like, hey, this thing works. Like this real estate investing thing is something that actually works. So long story short, quit my job after a couple of years, and then again, I want to focus on you guys, right? So not too much on myself, but I partnered with the local investors in Delaware back then. Took a few years, we learned a lot of stuff, but it didn't pan out. So in 2018, I know I've been in real estate for a while, but in 2018, I had to go home, kind of think about what I want to do. Do I want to get into real estate investing again? And I decided, hey, I'm going to give it one more shot. Okay, so this is early March 2018, I remember. And I basically just came back and like, hey, I'm just going to start marketing. I was doing direct mail, postcard, letters, things like that. Link it, put a stamp on it, all that kind of stuff. I'm sure you guys have done it, some of you. And I was doing just about a deal a month back in 2018. And I just kept reinvesting, right? It worked. Something worked. I keep doing it, keep doing more of it until it stops working. So now, we now run the largest wholesaling flipping business in Delaware in 5 years, right? Again, I'm not trying to say I'm great or anything like that, but I'm just trying to say and I honestly, I could barely speak English and I still struggle with, public speaking sometimes because there's always that insecurity, right? I could barely speak English when I got here. 17, 18 years ago, I could barely understand any of you. If you were talking to me when I was in college, I'd be like, what the heck are you talking about? Right? Because I watch Hollywood movies, but when you speak to real person, it's totally different. I was like, I don't understand, right? The accent is too much. But we overestimate what we can do in 1 year. Someone said this, but underestimate what you can do in 5, maybe 10 years. So you can have enough properties and real estate stuff to make you a millionaire in 5 years, for sure. If you're doing the right stuff, just gotta have that long-term mindset, right? I talked too long. Let me drink some water. So I'm assuming all of you want to become a real estate agent. Give me some idea why you want to be a real estate agent. Why did you get into it in the first place? Anyone got anything at all?
A real estate agent?
Yeah, like why did you get into real estate?
Yeah, it's just no ceiling. Being able to your hard work results in your income, which is cool. Nobody
Right.
You have to move up a corporate ladder. You can just work harder and make more money. So
Yeah, unlimited income, right?
Yeah,
No
yeah.
cap on your earnings.
Yep.
Maybe some freedom, flexibility. Sounds about right. Every real estate agent I talk to probably say the same thing, and including myself, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, though, right? We can all say, we look good and say all that stuff, but it's when the bills come at the end of the day that that reality hits, right? So it's like the income can sometimes feel like a roller coaster. Maybe someone can relate to that. Oh yeah, I got that. Oh yeah, right there. Some months you're like doing 3 deals and you're like the king of the world, or 30 like Rob, king of the world, and you're like, man, I'm $1 million. I'm the best in the world. And then the next month you have 0 closings, and you're like, dang, I already spent all my money last month. So, what am I gonna do, right? So that's always, and even for some of you, I know that you are more established. Maybe you have a team and you make more money, but then like that overhead, right? That marketing budget that you spend kind of catches up on you. You're like, man, like I'm making, I don't know, 100 grand, but then like I have to spend 90, right? I'm only making 10, but my expense is 20 because I'm living large because I'm huge, right? So ask me how I know. So, but I promise how to become a millionaire real estate investor agent. Here's what I'm thinking. So according to Zillow, based on my research, in 2013, single family home in Newcastle, I just pick out Newcastle as a hotspot for investors because of the lower price, decent neighborhoods, average 124,000. Okay, guess how much it is today, last night, 2024. 220? Yeah, 256. Right? It doubled in 10 years. So rule of 72 divided 10, appreciated 7%, 7.2% every year. Right? And to me, like if you just do the math, like every single one of them was getting at least 10% ROI plus the biggest thing, I know Corey and I can relate, it's like tax benefits. Because you make a bunch of income, but then like you pay Uncle Sam like 30, 40, 50%. But you can do a cost segregation and like get rid of a lot of those, right? Like one property you buy, you could get rid of 30, 40 grand in taxable income. And most of my friends, I have friends that do 400 deals a year. These are not agents, they are investors. So they flip 400 deals a year and they pay almost zero taxes, okay? Because they are holding a lot of it too. So what if you bought just, I don't know, 3 of those, you know? Let's just say 100K compounding, right? Warren Buffett say 10%. I know I'm quoting like the cliche people, but it's true. Warren Buffett say compounding is like the 8th wonder of the world. 100K compounding 10% for 30 years. I know we don't want to wait 30 years, but let's just, you know, say this. How much do you think the value would be in 30 years, 100K? Just give me a number. Wild guess.
500,000.
Okay, good. Anyone else? Okay.
330.
330. Okay, cool. Last one. Okay, cool. All right, I'm not gonna put you guys 1.6 million. 10%. And I'll be honest, like in real estate, you're probably gonna get more than 10% because you're leveraging it. Hopefully, you don't leverage up to your eyeball, right? But then you're leveraging it, so your ROI on your cash, your down payment, right, or whatever money you put into the deal is like way higher than 10%. But 10% is comfortable range for most investments. 1.6, that's just 100K, right? And that's not including tax benefits that you get and then all the other stuff, right? Plus your cash flow, right? Like eventually once you pay it off in 30 years, hopefully sooner than that, you plow money into it. It's all pure cash flow, except taxes and insurance and all that stuff. So just to give you an idea, I always do that because people just can't, it's hard to think long term. And I think being a good investor is about thinking long term, not about what I'm gonna make this year. Because you want to translate what you make this year into what you're gonna make in 10, 20, 30 years, right? So that's kind of what it is. Plus, you guys already know like most of the stuff. Like, 'cause I have it here, most of the skills needed for a real estate investor, you guys already have it. Running comps, ARV, which is after repair value, how much it's worth after it's all fixed up, beautiful home. You know how to do that. You guys know how to get a deal done. Like you guys, like how many deals have you done?
Ever?
Yeah, ever.
96.
96. You know how to do a deal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty comfortably, right? I mean, there's messy title problems and things like that, but you really know how to do a deal. There's nothing different about a investment deal. And you guys probably already come across investment opportunities in your daily life, because my experience is that 5 to 10% of the sellers you talk to could benefit from a cash offer, like a investment offer, because different situations. I have certain things here, like sometimes they're in foreclosure. I just bought one from a realtor, daughter of a friend, going for foreclosure in 2 weeks. It's like, hey, I don't have time to list it. By the time I find a buyer, plus I don't know if the buyer is gonna close. And she's like, I know you can close in 2 weeks. Can we make a deal happen? And it happens all the time. And then yesterday I was talking to some other guy, an agent, who's been doing this for 30 years. And he's like, I got this rundown house. I went there, the whole bathroom was molded. It's kind of crazy. No lights. And then you have to open up a door in the floor to go to the basement kind of place, right? 100-year-old home. But I don't know, I could pick it up for 50K, and then fix it up and then rent it out or sell it. So that's definitely something you guys want to look into. And the other part of being real estate investor agent is that the benefit, I don't know how other people do it, but for me, you can double to quadruple your commission. Let's be honest, all of us here want to make more money, right? Without doing too much work. I mean, that's always the goal. And to me, when I buy a property, I'll give you an example, I'm more than happy to pay anyone the commission on the buyer side. So let's say you have a seller who just wants to sell the house, foreclosure, that situation, they need money now, they gotta get out. And you obviously charge them commission to help them sell the house, but I also give you I could technically, I know so many agents, right? I could technically make that commission, but I just give it to whoever I work with. So now they already make double the commission, 5-6% depending on where you're at. And what happens with me after I fix it up, I also relist it with you because you brought me the deal, right? Like, let's just be real. Like, I could probably get some other guy who charged me 1% less, but then because you brought me the deal, I'm gonna give it to you, right? At full commission. Now you have another side of income when I fix up the house. So that's like already triple the commission. And then if you happen to find the end buyer who buy the property, because if you have a listing, it's so easy to generate more listings and buyers. I don't think I need to tell you guys that. I'm not in that business, right? But then would everyone agree with me, like listing is the game? As hard as it is right now, right? With the inventory. But listing is the game, because I definitely don't want to show, I used to do that, like showing properties to buyers. Oh my God, like these are investor buyers that I was dealing with, but I'm just like, not my thing, right? But again, you do what you got to do to get there at some point. So it doesn't happen all the time, right? You cannot always have the buyer for that fourth commission, but then I've had agents that make 4 times the commission without doing too much work. Just how easy is it to sell a fully rehab property? Like click a button and then pick up phone call, send to answering service and then call certain people back. Give me an offer, highest and best. That's all you do. I mean, I'm not downplaying what you guys do, but just to make the point of my house is fully rehab top to bottom. Everything's new. There might be a few home inspection items, but what else are you gonna have? And it's all staged, right? It looks kind of like your office. Your office is like fancy and beautiful. We try to do the same thing. But to me, that's the roadmap to double or triple your commission. Even if it's just 1 out of 10 deals you do it like that, but that deal makes you 2 or 3 times or 4 times your commission, right? So and then you can use that money to invest into another deal that you find. So that's kind of what I think people are not realizing, the power of investing. And then also I'll talk about, I think Corey said how to analyze deals, right? Let's be nitty gritty here and just do stuff. And we can deep dive Q&A. How are we doing on time though?
Pretty good, 10:48, so.
Okay, got it. All right, cool. And then now the exciting part, and then I'm not going to be able to go through too much, but how to find deals nobody else can find. Because that's always the thing, right? If you fish in the same pond as everyone else, the MLS, you're not going to find all the deals you want. At least not at the price you want. You have to kind of show up differently in a different niche, okay? So for me, for example, we prioritize being the easy buyer. Like, I'm pretty easygoing, to be honest. I'm usually in sweatpants, like I was telling Corey, I'm usually in sweatpants with my company uniform in my home office. But I was like, I came here the other day, I saw Corey, I was like, man, this guy is all dressed up, so I have to dress up. Plus, you guys all look really good looking, so I'm like, I better dress up today. But I'm pretty easygoing, and I pay cash, so just to tell you, any investors you work with, some of them could be different, but for us, we pay cash, so there's no bank appraisal. I'm the appraisal, right? Like what I say goes. Or home inspection contingency, right? I've walked through, 500,000 houses. I know what I'm talking about. I mean, if there's a major thing, I might get a structural engineer and go check it out, but I know what I'm doing. We deal with complicated situations. And like I say, you guys earn more commission, and we actually close on it. Some some people don't actually close on it. That's always a big thing, right? Because your reputation is on the line with working with sellers. Some situation that we deal with pre-foreclosure, right? Going to sheriff's sale, or they're just behind on mortgage payments, short sales, probate estate situation. That's usually a lot of our clients' judgments. They have a bunch of judgments on their file. They think they can sell it because they owe the judgment. But then we know how to clear it, okay? And that's something that most people don't know about, right? IRS liens, we clear that too. People think you cannot get rid of it. Well, you can at least sell the house. So it's something that now that you've heard me say, next time you hear the same thing, you're like, oh, you know, it doesn't have to be me, right? Like, but you know it's possible to do it. Now you have another tool in your tool belt to like help people. And then a few more situations, Medicare, Medicaid liens, you know, sometimes they move to a nursing home and then Medicare, Medicaid kind of come into place. I bought that property as well. It's a lot of nuances to it, but you can do that. And then sometimes you have people who couldn't find the owner. We can do a suit and do that too and get title. And we also have one of the owners doesn't want to sell, one want to sell. I bought the partial interest on the one that want to sell and then make the other ones, well, negotiate with the other ones and buy the property that way. So it's a lot of creative ways that, you know, you may not have come across. But again, like, I'm not asking you to do anything different. Maybe ask for a referral. You guys know the most amount of people. Maybe other real estate agent friends, even from other brokerage, right? I mean, you know, as long as you guys all make commission, Corey makes commission, everybody's happy, right? So they may know people like that, but they don't know what you can do. So you can be that resource to make money on other people's deals too. Hey, you don't have to put too much effort. Just whenever you talk to them, just ask them, hey, do you have deals you couldn't close on because of some weird situation? Talk to me. Personally, I send tens of thousands of mail pieces, tens of thousands of phone calls every month. Got a team doing it. But it's all about consistency, right? Yeah, over time, you want to make sure you do the same thing every single day. It's boring. I'll tell you that right now. After a while, like, you know, making money is boring because it's the same stuff every day. And we try to like experiment with different new things, but you got to keep the machine running. So, but focus on what's working for you right now. I like to create business formulas out of what you're working and do more of that until it stops working, right? Sphere of influence is working for you, do more of it. Do until you run out of time, like to sleep, and then hire some help to complement your weakness. If that's your thing, you know, if you're like the social butterfly that everyone loves, right? You're the best friend for everyone. Maybe you should just keep doing it. Maybe stop trying to find, you know, like that PPC that's working. I don't know if it's working well for Corey, but let's say PPC is working well for him. May not be working well for you, you know. But switch your thing. If you're trying to buy and hold in the specific neighborhoods, maybe start farming there if your strategy is farming, right? So just do what you're doing, but add a little bit of more intentionality behind it. So you're doing stuff to prepare for your long-term wealth, right? And then maybe, to me, I would say consider giving the seller your suggested listing price and a cash offer, right? Because then now it makes you stand out. You're different compared to like John, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah, I know John. We haven't met, but you know, I know of you. So John, Amanda,
Yeah.
right? Okay, Amanda, John. What makes both of you different if you go to the same listing appointment?
I'm better looking.
I think that plays a role, but you know, but how do you deal with better looking Amanda?
You have much more experience.
Yeah,
so,
I got more
yeah.
experience, so.
Right, but she could have said the same thing. Who knew?
Yeah.
I mean, I could look it up and see who has more experience, but most homeowners don't know, right? So can she say she has more experience than you,
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
right? So what makes you stand out? But but if you come in with like a cash offer, first of all, it low anchors them, because usually it's lower, has to be. We gotta make money, right? And I'll walk through the math a little bit. And again, like if I got too much to cover, so if you guys need to go, just let me know. That's totally fine. I just get excited talking about stuff like that. So low anchor, right? And then let's say it's 100 grand, but you can list it for 175 or 150, let's say. Now they're like, I really don't want to sell at 100. Now 150 sounds so much better, right? And then they understand why it's 100 because it needs work. Now also, instead of choosing between Amanda and John and Corey, now they get to choose between the cash offer or the listing with you, right? It's a little bit of psychology, right? Does it work all the time? Probably not, but it works enough of the time where it helps to get you to like convince someone to sign with you, or if if they act, and some of them actually, you'll be surprised how many times I tell my team like, hey, don't disqualify people. Like, of course, if someone just like being a jerk about it, then don't work with them. It's not worth it. But don't qualify them. I don't know how many times someone came back. It's like, oh, it's retail, and then they're like, yeah, I'll take that cash offer because I need to get out right now. Unfortunately, I deal with a lot of crazy situations, right? And I can tell you stories about all the stuff that happened with people, but sometimes they just need out. It's not about the money. It's just about solving their problem. So for me, I'm a problem solver. I'm not trying to buy their house. That's just a way for me to solve their problems. Again, you guys are not trying to list it. You're trying to solve the problem of why they're selling, right? So you have to, that's why I'm sure you guys have a sales process to understand like your motivation, your pain point, what's your problem, what's the picture perfect scenario, like, once you sell the house, what happens next? How would that feel, right? Like, what does that make you, like, and then you got your deal killers, right? Like, what the other people are gonna say, all that stuff, right? So I'll skip over some of it. Do we still want to go over like how to analyze a deal? Because I feel like the math part sometimes scares people.
Is that important to anybody?
Yeah.
Is that important or no? Not really.
From like a flip aspect or?
What other aspect? Can be.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
Back to what, flip?
Yeah, let's do a flip. If you guys want it. I mean, I don't have to do it like if you don't want it.
No, I would like to do it.
All right, just checking. All right, okay. What's my pen here? Okay, I'm gonna refer back because it's a lot of math here. So, a few things you need to know about. ARV is a very common term. I don't know in the realtor world, is it common? Is it? Yeah. That's pretty common. Okay, so after repair value, like once it's fixed up, how much it's worth? Like beautiful condition, nothing to do. Commission, and then you got interest payments. Yeah, we all know interest payments, right? When you buy a house, you need to pay interest on it. Especially, let's talk about flipper. They have to pay hard money. Everyone knows what hard money is? Yeah. They feel like a loan shark, but not really, it's legal. So basically they fund flip loans for investors. And usually you're talking like 12 to 15% per year, right? About a 1% per month. And then they might charge you between 1 to 4 points upfront to service that loan to help you get that. So that's how they make their money. And then they probably have a bunch of junk fees as well. I hate that, but it is kind of how they make money. So, and then you have holding costs, property taxes, utilities, insurance, rehab budget. That's a big variable. I think that's where most people get hung up if you're new to it. You're like, man, like how much is it gonna cost? Like all that stuff. And then you give like either a low number or a high number. And then, like one of the biggest things as an investor is to know your numbers, which is the rehab budget within a certain, range of like close to the real number. We usually get pretty close because we've done it many times. And then closing costs, when you buy, 2% transfer tax when you buy, 2% transfer tax when you sell, attorney's fee, title insurance fees, right? So why don't we do a quick example? So just to kind of bring it home, right? So how to analyze a deal like a professional real estate investor. So I haven't done this before, so I'm gonna do my best. So ARV, let's just say 300,000, okay? Billy, you can see it? Good, okay. Commission, 5%. What's 5% of 300? 15,000, Rob's, right? Closing costs, 2%. 6 grand, right? So what's your net when you sell? 15,621, 279. Okay? So before doing anything, your investor is walking away with 279 when they sell it. Okay? You have to understand that because I mean I know it's so basic, but you'd be surprised like people are like, oh, you know, 300K, you get like 30K equity, 10%, you're gonna make money. I'm like, so I don't have to pay you a commission? I don't have to pay closing costs, you know? So you want to be knowledgeable because otherwise the investor's going to think like you don't know what you're talking about, right? So that's how much you're going to net as a proceeds, right? And then you have your purchase price. Let's just say in this case is say 150K, right? It needs rehab. Let's just call it 50K. Nowadays, probably more. Everything's more expensive. Closing costs, I call it 3% of what you buy it for, right? So 3% of, it's 2% transfer tax, but you get 1% like attorney's fees, all that crap, right? Title insurance. So it's 4,500. Thanks Rob, appreciate it. And then I have like a holding cost, which is like property taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities. I put like 1% of the ARV, 300,000 times 1%, that's like 3 grand. Okay? And then interest payment. That's the big one. Most people forget about. If you find a buyer that has their own cash that they don't pay interest on, that's the best, right? Because he can save that money and then that's pure profit for him. Right? That's all you want. I put 9%, assuming 3.6% average 4 to 6 months to buy and sell or flip projects on average. I mean, everyone's optimistic it's gonna finish in 4 weeks. It always takes 8 weeks, and then like it's gonna sell in two days, and then you know how that goes. Buyer back out, all that crap. So say 6% plus 3 points, 9%. This one is a tough one, so 18,675. So about 19K in interest, okay? And then the math here, I have it right there. All in, 226,175. Okay, that's how much the project actually costs when you sell, after all said and done. Profit, 279 minus 226. I'll just put it down here, 52,825. That's the real profit. Yeah, people think like, oh, that 20K is also profit, or that, you know, like they forget about all the other costs as well. And then the rehab of 50 might be 60, you know, like who knows what happens, right? Like you open up the wall and then you find out like you have to replace all the electricity, right? I had to rerun wires for a house that I thought I didn't have to, so, you know, I made 10 grand less. So it happens all the time. Hopefully not every time. So does that make sense how I kind of analyze a deal of like how to run the numbers? Any questions on any components? Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have a minimum you shoot for? Is it a percentage or a dollar amount?
Everyone is different, but I would say personally, if you're not making like 10% of the ARV, it's not worth it. Right, like in this case, 30K. I put 52 just because it's easy math. I put 150 in there. But then, like, if someone's not making, some people will be okay with 20K. But then also you have to consider. So that's why every client you have, like investor as well, it's different. Some of it, like, they might only, like, they only need like maybe 20K here because they're gonna make that 20K back from their interest, and technically they make 40K. right? So everyone's a little bit different, but I would say 10% is generally rough idea. You should ask them how much you want to make, right? I mean, of course, I want to make 100K, which I have, but that's generally what it is. Yeah, good question though. And then let me see here. I'm almost done actually. So do we still have time? Do we want to go over, I only have one last page, like how to get enough money to scale your rental portfolio? Is that something of interest?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, that's a strong yes right there from Amanda. Okay, maybe that's what you're trying to do right now.
I'm looking for a few months.
A few months. Okay. All right. So, I would say, for me, is to always increase your active income first. Okay. Depending on where you're at, right? If you're closing a bunch of deals and making a bunch of income, maybe that's not something that you're concerned about. But if you're brand new into it, you want to invest in properties. A lot of things come up that you don't think about, and you don't want to stress out and get yourself into a financial problem. So I would say it's always important to have a stable income first, then before you kind of scale your rental portfolio. Because if you have enough money coming in every month, you can like put that into the rental property and you're gonna be okay. But I would even say you should have at least, I don't know, 100K in the bank account before you worry about scaling your rental properties. Because things gonna come up, and you also have life stuff that comes up. I'm sure all of you have. I definitely have a lot of kids' expenses. I can tell you that right now. But I've seen too many of them just don't have enough cash or cash flow that get into trouble. So that's definitely something that to think about. But if not, you want to partner up. If you don't have enough income coming in, you want to partner up with other people. So you're talking like private lenders. That's, I have a few guys that are like my private lenders that they have like 7 figures with me each. And it didn't always like come from, it didn't start with $1 million, right? It started from 100K or 50K, it doesn't matter. Actually, back when, like it started from 25, because I had to, because I was like, I was not proven, no credibility, like what am I supposed to tell them, right? How am I gonna pay you back? So some went 25, and then some went to like 50, 100, 200, 500, $1 million. I think the highest, there's the guy 1.3, right? And those guys, they just want their money working for them, because to them, they're too busy with their life, how they make their money. They just want guaranteed interest. If you have secure property, real estate is so good because it's secure, right? If you buy a house for, I don't know, you think that 300K house that you buy for 150 or close to it, you think you'll be okay?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, assuming you didn't mess up on the rehab budget, that's the key part. Feel free to hit me up if you need guidance on that. But I think you'll be okay, right? Like I always tell them this, if they foreclose on the property, they're gonna make money, okay? So again, like that's what I think you need to scale your portfolio. Of course, you gotta look for deals to buy, but at the same time, that money is all out there, right? Like I mean, you'd be surprised. Like once you get to a certain level, like the money just comes. They'll like come and ask you to like, hey, you want to borrow the money because you've proven you've got the experience and you know what you're doing and you got the deals that come along with it. They'll like throw you money. There's so much money out there nowadays. Like they just need to find money to park. Like for example, like if you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but like pension, I'm not asking you to get pension funds, but a lot of the teachers' pension funds are like huge, humongous. You're talking trillions of dollars. Those sub 5%, that's all they need. Because at that volume, it's not about maximizing return, it's about preserving capital, right? Because the richer you get, the more work it is to just maintain your capital to not be eaten by inflation, right? Like inflation the last few years have been crazy, so like A lot of rich people just want to put money into it so they just don't lose the value. So, and honestly, for me, I would reach all the way to the top, right? The highest, right? I mean, you want to test out on a couple of people, that's fine, but reach out to the top. It's much easier to work with someone who has a ton of money than someone with no money. That's my experience anyway. So like someone with barely enough money, they're gonna ask you so many questions and like, what if this happened? What if that happens? What if, and then they're gonna call you every single day, every single week and ask you questions. It's just not worth it. The guys that loan me 7 figures don't really talk to me because yeah, you'd be surprised. Like they're so busy. One guy has multiple restaurants. The other guy runs like he does like a lot of high net worth individual stuff. They just don't have time to deal with me. We have lunch, we talk about kids and life and hey, what's going on? And then after that meeting, we haven't talked to each other for like 6 months or a year. But of course I'm paying him the money, so he knows it's coming. But then like, they just don't want to be bothered, right? When you got money, you just want more time. When you have more time, you just want more money. That's always that balance you wanna, so like try to find that sweet spot. And then one of the biggest strategy is to use the BRRRR method to minimize capital requirement. Buy it, rehab it, rent it, refinance, and repeat. So for example, right? You buy this, let's just do it here. 150 plus 50, 200K, right? Once you fix it up, you can go to a local bank or get a DSCR loan. I mean, you guys have a lot of mortgage brokers hit you up, right? So you can ask them. House is worth 300. You can borrow up to like 70, 80%. So you can borrow up to like 70 of 300, 210, or 80% would be 240,000, and do a cash out refinance. So just to, I know sometimes. So you're all in 200, right? ARV 300. Let's just say you borrow 80%. Cash out refi. Refinance, but with cash out, 240. You make 40K tax free. I mean, that's closing costs, all that, but 40K tax free that you can use for the next property. That's the BRRRR method. Of course, a lot more nuance to it, but you see how powerful that is? You don't really need, you just need down payment for one property if you just buy one every year, like one of the CPAs say, like, just buy one every year. At some point you're gonna, have 10, and then they're gonna keep appreciating, they're gonna keep paying it off, and then $1 million is just, you should really shoot for multi-million in today's world, I think, because $1 million ain't worth much anymore, right? Corey knows that. So, but that's the BRRRR method, and you refinance out and then keep doing it, right? Repeating it, doing the same thing every month, every year, whatever you want to do. So does that help? Like, that's how you scale it up. A lot of people do that. Again, you can also partner with people who buy multifamily and buy like 100 unit right away. That's fine too. But it's just single family is just easier. You try to get your feet wet. And then lastly, I have the first step towards getting somewhere is to decide that you are not going to stay where you are. It's unknown. I don't know who said it. But I feel like that's kind of true, because what's stopping you from being a millionaire real estate investor, or just millionaire in general, is just what's in your head. It's not, because the information is out there. I'm here, right? The information is out there. You got to do the work for sure, but it's just changing your thinking, right? Maybe changing your strategy. Hey, if you just, maybe the whole goal for this whole talk here is just to get one more property every year, every couple years, so that at some point in the future, at some point in the future, you're not just in that rat race, right? Because we got out of W-2 to against this to escape the rat race, and then now we're back into the rat race, but now we're self-employed. Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm sure, now you're like, instead of employee, you're self-employed, but you're still in that thing. But if you can move into your investor quadrant, now you eventually have passive income coming in, and once they're paid off, that's when you just live off of that. Or if it just supplements a little bit of your income, it just makes you like, okay, let's say I have 0 closing this month. Oh, okay, well, all the bills are paid, or at least half of them are paid. I know I'm gonna have closing next month. I don't feel as stressed out. Plus, I don't know, like I have like $1 million, like let's say you bought a few properties, I have a few $100,000 in equity in my rental properties. I feel pretty good, I don't know about you. But that's the whole goal, right? Change your active income into your passive income, and you're a real estate investor, you can write them all off and then cost segregate it. Don't pay and then you can use the segregation to offset your active income as well. Now you just save 30-40% from owning more properties. So, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, quick question for the cash out refi.
Yeah.
So that's not like a loan that you're taking out. It's like literally cash that you can just use that you don't have to pay back, right? With the cash out refinance.
You have to keep paying the monthly payment.
Right. But that $40,000.
You can use it for whatever.
Use it. It's not like a HELOC loan or something that you're taking out of your equity. That
No.
Got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually equity from this deal that you have.
Yeah.
But then the 40K, you can just do whatever you want with it. Most people just put it into another property, but you can use it for, I don't know, marketing team, anything else.
Got it.
Tax-free forever. Like a lot of the people I know, high net worth individuals, they have a ton of money in the stock market and things like that. They don't sell it if they need money. They borrow from like a bank. They call it margin asset-based loan, based on the asset, 50, 60%, 3-4% back then. I don't know, maybe higher now, but like a few percentage. Now they don't have to realize the capital gains. They just use the money. It's tax-free. I mean, there's no tax on loans, right? So it's a different game that people are playing. And you know, for me, it took me a while to like learn all of it. I'm still learning every day. I'm not preaching here like I know everything. It's just some things have worked for me, and you know, I think the plan. I know the plan worked for, you know, especially if you bought stuff in the last few years. You bought enough of it, you're already a millionaire, easy, right? COVID helped a lot. So hopefully, yeah, okay.
All right, I work.
I'll get to you.
When it comes to when you're looking for like a rental property
Yes.
to buy, what is like the minimum margin of like profit that you're looking for?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
So I depend on the areas,
Got it.
right? So class A, meaning Hockessin, maybe some part of Pike Creek, versus B, like, you know, and C is different. I don't do C and D anymore just because of the hassles. In the beginning, you may have to, but like A, B properties, I would say at least 20%, just so you can, 20% minus rehab, right? So just so you can at least refi, if not all of it, but most of the money out. So that way you don't have too much cash tied up there,
Got it.
right? Because I know people say 70%, 20, sometimes it's hard, right? Like, especially if you're not doing it full time, sometimes it's hard to get like that super deal.
Yeah.
But if you get that 80% and then you pay it off, you get the tax benefit and they appreciate, and then the rent increases. Like one of the biggest things people miss is like your mortgage payments stay the same, your rent keep going up. Especially, I don't know, like I have a property I rented $2,200 last year. I just rented another property I bought in the same neighborhood for $2,500, right? So it's like, sure, property taxes go up, but you know, at some point it just makes sense.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
that answer you gave, so when you analyze a rental, you don't necessarily look at the cash flow as much, you look at the equity that you have in there, so you can do cash out refinance.
Good question. So I do look at the cash flow as well, because I don't want to put money into it. But everyone is different. In the beginning, you may have to have a little bit of cushion because your financial situation is not stable. For me right now, I don't. Usually, as long as I close to break even,
Gotcha.
I'm okay. Because for me, I don't need the cash flow.
Right, you're looking at the long term.
Right, at the long term, I'm at the building net worth phase, but in the beginning, it's more about cash flow also. But you got to budget right? I mean, there's a lot of nuance, like how much to budget for. It's not just rent minus mortgage payment because you're gonna get screwed, right?
Yeah.
Plus, you gotta have like 1.2, 1.25 DSCR, debt service coverage ratio. You guys familiar with regular loans, right? Like debt service coverage ratio for. Plus, they only take 75% of the rental income as income sometimes. So that number has to work for your banks as well. So they'll make sure you're good in terms of if you're over leveraging yourself.
Got it.
So with that being said, like I'm not buying $500,000 home. You know, it's more like $200,000-$300,000 nice area. You know, so usually it needs to be cheaper, just in general. Yeah, you had a
Yeah, I was
question.
gonna ask, like, what are, for somebody that's gonna be getting hard money for the first time, like,
Yeah.
what are common issues that people run into if they don't really have the experience dealing with hard money? Like, are there common issues really? I mean, I guess as long as the numbers make sense, like, I don't know, is there anything that you, I guess maybe it's a tough question then.
No. I'm actually done, by the way. So like, you know, now that we're kind of going into Q&A, so I know some of you might have somewhere to go, do a listing appointment, do whatever. Feel free to run out if you need to. But we'll just continue with Q&A if anyone want to stay and just chat. I can deep dive on anything. I just don't want to hold people up. I know some of you are busy. So common issues is you don't know your numbers, right? Because the guys I work with, they know their numbers. Like the loan people, like the local, especially the local hard money lenders, they know better than us, right? They can go there, take 5 minutes, they come out, good to go. That's all they need. I mean, I do the same thing. I go in, 5 minutes, I come out. I don't want to stay there because it stinks and, you know, like it's got mold and like all that crap that you have to deal with. And those, I don't want to stay for too long. Most of it is just you don't have the right numbers. I think that's the most common issues. Most of them probably don't care about your tax return or how much money you made anyway, as long as it's, especially after you build a relationship with them.
Right.
It's all about the numbers. Like, that's why it's easy to work with investors like myself. So I don't talk to you about my wife, my kids, and all that emotional stuff. It's all about the numbers.
Yeah.
You know, your numbers work, let's do a deal. If it doesn't work, next one. You know, that's why certain agents like working with investors because it's less emotionally charged, right? Because I know we deal with emotions all the time, like all the time. Yeah, I know. Because imagine the sellers I deal with, right? Foreclosure, death,
Goodness, yeah.
abuse, like all kinds of stuff. So,
Well, thank you.
yes.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have any advice on how to overcome seller objections. So like you mentioned,
Yeah.
sometimes what you might want to present a seller a cash offer in addition to a listing.
Yeah.
So let's say, the cash offer is going to be significantly lower than the list price, and they can't see past that. And they can't see, if I put it on the market, I can show that, my neighbor's house sold for $400,000, but their neighbor's house is much better than theirs, but you're offering them 300 cash, and they can't see past that. Like, how would you kind of go about overcoming those objections?
It comes down to, and sometimes you just can't do it, right? Like
Yeah.
they want a certain amount of money. I always find out how much they owe, what they're trying to do with the money, but like it just depends on their motivation. If they have a strong motivation to solve their problem, that's when you can do a deal. If they don't, I mean, it makes sense, right? I want to maximize how much I sell. Why would I take less, right? That's just common sense. So they have to have something that you can work with. Like, okay, they need that money right now to do something, or they're just like done with the house. I want out. Like it's not about, the money is good, I still want good, fair offer, but it's more about what's in their head, and their motivation is the key. So what I do as well, because I can point out what needs to be done, and I can show them like what needs to happen to sell the house. Sometimes it helps to compare, like they think their house is better than what it's actually worth. I'm sure you guys have that a lot. It's annoying sometimes, but you basically just have to analyze it with them, right? Again, I try to shift the conversation. This is more sales. I do sales training every day with my team, right? So I focus more on the person, the motivation, the emotions behind it, rather than like that thing itself. Yes, you're gonna have the analytical, really one there to know every single thing kind of person. That's very hard to deal with, to be honest. But then most people are generally, they can convince them to like say, you also have to have a logic behind it, right? So you got to show them like this is a comp similar to your house that sold for 300K cash. The other one is selling for 400 because they've done the work, right? Sometimes it worked because I had a deal, they won 125. I showed them 60K comp. Just like, oh crap. All right, I'll sell it for 60K. It doesn't always work out like that, but you just have to be prepared for those appointments. I usually try to ask them like, what's their asking price first, what they want out of it, so I know like the reason behind that, and then I formulate an offer. And sometimes it means referring the deal to a realtor, because I do that too. I'd be like, hey, sounds like you should talk to a realtor. Here's a name, talk to the person, right? I don't waste too much. I mean, it's about sorting game, right? It's not about convincing people. It's about pre-screening and sorting your leads, because otherwise you'll be chasing leads that go nowhere and make no money. That's how I look at it anyway. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Yes.
So my struggle is.
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I'll get back to you. So just in case, because I know, actually, Ken, in case you need like recording or you have any questions, because I might not be able to get to everybody, Ken at 302 House Buyers is my email. I'll put it right here. Oh, my beautiful handwriting. And then here's my cell phone in case you need anything that we can't get to today. Just so you have it. Back to your, go ahead.
Yeah, so my struggle is I have, let's say, a handful of properties that actually Corey's helped me try to track down phone numbers, emails
Yeah.
to actually
Skip
talk to
trace?
somebody.
Yeah.
And the emails are coming back undeliverable, the phones are disconnected. How do you connect?
Have you
next
tried door
step-
knocking?
I'm sorry?
Have you door knocked on them?
Well, they don't live there.
Oh, they don't live there. They live somewhere else.
So that was my next step, is to actually send a letter to the address that he's given me where they're actually living.
Door knock on the address that they're
Okay.
living. Yeah. I mean, you can send a letter. I would do both,
Okay.
right? Well, again, you gotta see what your time is, but I send a letter for sure, that's easy,
Yeah, that's my next,
right? But then I would door knock it, and then if anything, leave a note there or something,
yeah, they're,
I know it's
even-
annoying to,
No, not at all. I've actually connected with some of the neighbors. I've tried to get neighbors
Yeah.
involved to help me, and it's just, I've called the
Oh.
county, but it's just, they're so hard to get a hold of.
yeah,
And, to your point back at the beginning, the MLS is obviously competitive, but if we can get an off-market home, and I've got an investor that's ready, cash
Yeah.
or get the listing, it's just making that connection so I can have that conversation is where I'm.
it's all about contact, right? Real estate is a contact game.
It
So
is, yeah.
I-
it's a struggle.
I have a lot of people, they also bring me deals. What they do is they just drive around,
Yeah,
looking rundown properties, knock on the door, send a mail, call them, skip trace them, call them. You guys, you guys all do the same thing.
yeah.
And door knock, to talk to the neighbors. Hey, what's going on with the house? And then you can do some research and see if there's equity there. Because if they owe, house is what you got to buy at 200 is what they owe like 300. There's nothing there other than a short sale, which we do a lot too. We have like close to 10 going on right now, but yeah, I mean it's just a contact game. And then don't get too hung up on one person too, but you want to stay focused and follow up. That's the
Yeah.
key.